The mysterious spring gives 250 ring power per hour to your entire faction. Today, I'm going to try to take one of these things and see exactly how they work. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today we're taking down the mysterious spring. It's got 2 level 40 defenders, and when I smash the attack button on it, it's telling me that it's got question amounts of power. That's always encouraging. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is what exactly a mysterious spring does. It's got 250 ring power per hour, but most importantly, you can see it says that it is fellowship occupied. What I think that means is that it is not going to take up one of my tiles in order to go and take this. So you can see I'm at 204 out of 206 tiles. I think that's going to stay the same when I capture it, assuming I will. In addition, there's a first occupation reward, a honestly somewhat laughable amount of gold, but there is gold there for the first time that somebody takes one of these suckers. And it's also important to mention that there is 500,000 durability on this thing. So I have positioned my marches over next to it. I theoretically could have launched the attacks on this thing from my city because I'm still in the radius of my city and only stationed the army I'm going to use to siege it. That would have been a better play, but I didn't do that. Is what it is. I got this other guy marching through my shot. Why do you gotta march through my shot? Anyways, all right. Joking aside, there's one other thing to know about this, which is that Chapter 8 of Season 1, there is a power struggle. 300 mysterious springs occupied across the whole server. So they're looking for 300 of these things to be captured, and then there's a reward that you can claim to advance the season journey. In addition, after this point, you can no longer switch factions. Wow. And Angmar and Ruin get stronger, which is definitely going to be a pain in the butt. In our server, those are 100% AI-controlled factions. I understand that that's not the case for every server. A whole bunch of people took offense when I said that those factions were AI. And they were like, I'm not AI. I was like, okay, well, your server is different. On my server, I have 100% non-player characters in these factions. All right, so is what it is. And they're going to get stronger at the conclusion of this thing, which would point to your making any attacks you want to make against those AI factions before we get to this point. But, oh well, it's kind of too late. We're already in this stage of the season journey, and I'm going to attack this mysterious spring. So let me explain how I like to do this. And I like to have both marches land within a 3-second window of each other. Why do I do that? In the world in which Dwalin beats the first army and doesn't go to a tie, I think that he immediately engages the second army. But if I send these two within a 3-second window of each other, it's possible that Aragorn engages one army and Dwalin, who I'm also going to use, is going to engage the other army. I don't know. I'm just going to send them in a 3-second window of each other, and it couldn't hurt to do it this way. So I send it, and then I check when it's going to land, and I send it. And I have my third army here that can be the tiebreaker if needed, if one of them kind of goes into overtime. In fact, I know I'm going to have to send a bunch of marches here to take this thing down. 500,000 siege durability is actually a lot of durability. My marches generally can take down less than 100,000, so I'm going to have to hit this thing a couple times with some of these marches, and that's why I have Faramir stationed here. I've got my Dwalin and my Aragorn that I want to keep high stamina so that I can kind of run them around the map all day long and just do different objectives that I'm trying to knock out. But here we are, moments away from the attack on the mysterious spring. What's it going to be like to take this? Is it going to count as my territory? I don't think so, but we'll find out definitively very soon. First, the battles, then we'll look at the reports, then I'll siege this thing, and then we'll see how it works. Here we go. The hit. Such waiting. Much wow. Here we go. The 2 armies are in. The third army arrives. I probably have a draw. Well, I've won. I beat their armies, actually. One of my armies is in a draw, so what happens when Faramir arrives? Does he help out? Does he clean up the draw? Or does my other march just sit there for 5 minutes? No, it's still going to sit there. All right, well, let's look at the reports. What happened? In the first battle, I had a draw against Gothmog. And the units that are here worth calling out. We've got some mountain trolls. We've got some raiders. And I'm sure it's different in each of them. The raider, I don't know if I've seen this before. Against mounted units, they do extra damage. That's awkward. And they take less damage in general. And then the crushers, against melee units, prioritize enemy with the lowest attack and deal extra damage. That seems weird, but okay. And then on hit enemy defense is reduced. That's kind of rough. Okay. And then Aragorn came in and battled against Azog, which is a different commander, and cleaned up that fight, and also helped with Gothmog. And then Faramir came up, and there was nothing left to do. So, I mean, the moral of the story here is that I super overpowered these things, and I should take a lot of them because the amount of losses I had here is very low, except I'm still waiting on one more report. There's still one more report that I'm only going to get after 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and that's going to tell me really the rest of the story that I need to know for what happened here. So what I can do while I'm waiting is I can reinforce this march and send some more units. Gosh bless, it feels nice to have achieved escape velocity on resources. I'm not going to lie. It's so nice to be just conscripting troops 24/7, just about. I have a few queues that are not in use sometimes, but having lots of troops is just freaking massive. I'm going to have a very productive day today. Taking down a lot of these things, because here's the thing. 250 ring power per hour just for me. I mean, I care. I wouldn't take up a tile for it, but I care about getting it done, right? I still need resources. I still do. Like, I'm spending my ability points gathering like crazy. I'd like to change that up to mock battles. So I still need resources, if you can believe it or not. I've got a lot of resources coming in. But I mention all this because 250 ring power per hour times 100 members of my fellowship. Now that is a lot of ring power per hour. It's actually kind of gross how much ring power per hour that is. Definitely 100% worth taking. Now, I have a limited time, but it's a 1 hour capture window. So I have an abundance of time to take this sucker down. Oh, that's fantastic, man. Great news is I have just a true abundance of time to beat this thing. I take 2 more hits and I can knock this out. And gosh bless, I'm going to do just shy of the amount of damage I need to be able to do to take this thing. I'm going to have to do 3 hits probably to knock it out. But great news is I'm definitely going to be able to take this. Let's flash forward to the future when I'm about to finish it. Ooh, the other report is now in. What happened here? It was a draw, but then I just did a bunch of siege damage. So I'm actually really close to taking this thing now, right? It's got 102,000. Gosh bless. I am going to have to do one more attack. So I'm going to do my one final attack on this thing. I'm going to refresh my armies, and then, like, I am going to go take a ton of these springs as efficiently as I can. And this is where having a large roster of commanders is going to be really a big deal. Just have enough energy to hit over and over. And theoretically, people from my fellowship could help out. But it is just a lot easier to kind of solo these things. You know what I mean? A lot less coordination burden that goes into that. But if you got a good group where everybody's talking on Discord, that actually should be relatively easy to accomplish. There we can see that Faramir had his attack yet again. And perhaps I should be looking into, since I know I'm going to be sieging with Faramir, like what actually is the highest amount of siege I could create? Because, I mean, look, I'm going to be short by just this very small amount of durability, 3,000. So I should change the composition of my march here so that I can finish it in one less hit rather than kind of doing it the way that I'm doing it. But let's get the final hit from Faramir. This thing will be cleaned up, and I will have taken a mysterious spring, giving my faction a ton of production. In fact, how much is a ton of production? If we go and we look at fellowship production, I'm at 1.0 million for the fellowship. Unfortunately, I guess it doesn't show a greater level of depth here for exactly how much production we have. In fact, I don't even see it over here on the fellowship screen because, I mean, I don't know. It's a little bit of a bump, right? Like, we'll see fellowship production go up by about 25,000, which is still pretty meaningful in the grand scheme of things. But, you know, it's not, like, absolutely insane. But a bunch of these, if you took them, would be pretty insane for your fellowship's production overall, right? I did that math correctly on that. Add a couple zeros, and that's where you end up. Yeah, that's right. 25,000 if we had 100 members. But here we go. 25,000 ring power per hour in total for the faction. Landing that right freaking now. Here we go. We capture this sucker. And what happens? You can see the tile is blue. You can see my tile count didn't go up, so it's not counting as one of my tiles. And the other thing that's kind of interesting here is I get this first capture reward. But if we go to the map and we zoom in a little bit, you can see it's now marked on the map that I've taken this thing. And I guess it's not marked that I've taken it, just that it is taken in general. There's the spring, and I got it, baby. Does it show that I took it? Does it show that I took it? Do I get any darn credit? I don't get any freaking credit on here, man. I think that'd be cool to show, to be honest. Just like they have for the other sort of objectives when you take them. But if I go and I just get a look at the ranking again and the fellowship production, well, you can't even tell the difference. But if you took enough of them, you sure would. If you enjoyed this video, found it helpful or informative, throw a like on here and consider subscribing. I'm interested in your thoughts on kind of the detailed mechanics of like the attack orders and kind of what happens. It seems like sending my marches to help out was only upside. It seemed to work pretty well. But if you got other information about how this all works, I'm eager to know it. And if you're looking for when I took a little bit of a tougher structure, about 1,000 ring power per hour in a keep, I'll have a card up in the top for where I did that earlier today. It was a pretty freaking sweet battle. And until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies.